Okay, Sistas fans. Now, like I said during the live stream last night and on Twitter, I really enjoyed the episode. I think episode 13 was much better than episode 12, even though some people would disagree with that statement. Not sure why, but hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion for who can I run to, which I give an 8 out of 10 score. For continuity, pretty good writing. Wasn't perfect. I feel like it did fumble towards the end, especially with Tony popping up to Danny's place. The way he did it was so out of pocket, but thankfully Danny shut him down. But yeah, this was overall a pretty decent episode. So with that being said, let's jump into the review. But before doing so, please hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit subscribe because we are getting closer to 300,000 subscribers. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description. And let's jump in. So, oh yeah, I didn't do a video pre-episode yesterday because they didn't drop the sneak peek until really late. I mean, it was like 8:30 or something. I didn't have time to get ready for it. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. And yes, they did release photo stills from the episode, but there wasn't really anything there because I'm not going to run and do like 15 videos in like an hour before the episode airs. And the photos in the clip don't really give me a lot to work on because more often than not, I will have already talked about particular theories and plot points based on the episode trailer. So yeah, don't always expect episodes or videos right before the episode airs. So Gary is putting on an act. Why doesn't anyone care about my pregnant fiance Penelope? And then Jordan, honestly, this was probably my favorite Jordan episode, particularly for the new actor. I mean, I don't know why, but all of a sudden, dude has some bass in his voice. Keep her name out of your mouth. Oh, what? So basically, things kind of de-escalate because, oh man, this is my favorite part here. So in the midst of the back and forth, you have Special Agent Wyatt show up. Now, I knew the actor looked familiar. I'm like, yeah, and I did a video on it too last week, a short. I said, isn't this the same actor that portrayed that one agent from season 2, episode 1, the FBI agent that helped Andy out? So is he playing a different character? Or could this be the same character? And it turned out this is exactly what it was. Now, before he talks to Andy in the interrogation room, Andy does something interesting. So Gary's doing all this kind of showboating, check the phone records. And this woman right here, she's the last person Penelope talked to. Basically, Gary is trying to divert any and all suspicion off of him onto Andy and to some extent Jordan. Now, it's interesting to me because Andy all of a sudden is like, Jordan, you know what? Calm down. I don't think it was a good idea for us to come here together. I mean, you just got out on one scandal. You don't want to be caught up in another one. Why don't you go home? I'll talk to this guy by myself and, we'll work something out. And I'm thinking to myself, if I were Jordan, and we know based on Jordan's next actions, he doesn't just go along with what Andy says. He has his own planning. But at the same time, it's like, I'm surprised he went along with it because considering Andy just dropped the bomb, me and your sister have been working together behind your back for months trying to bring Gary down. He's really dangerous, and I found out some stuff about him that I only told Penelope, and I think that's the reason she went to confront him, and that could be the reason why she's missing now. You did that, Andy. Now all of a sudden you're telling Jordan to be cool. I got this? Yeah, if I were him, it's kind of like Aaron with the whole DNA thing. I would question a lot of stuff before accepting something just blindly like that. But in any case, Andy's talking with Special Agent Wyatt, who I got to applaud the show. I got to applaud the writers for this. They took an obscure character who only appeared in 1 or 2 episodes of season 2, and they brought him back for an important plot point with trying to bring Gary down. I was just stunned and blown away by this. Now, this is a bit of a reach, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, so he wants Andy to testify as a key witness to Gary's foul activity. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you need somebody to testify to bring Gary down and you're bringing Andy into the fold. What about his scorned ex-wife who's in jail right now? Could this mean Jasmine might return? Jasmine could be, taken out of her cell and then testifies against Gary and whatnot. And possibly gets released, because of this, that, and the third, even though she did shoot him, but whatever. I do feel like this could be planting the seeds of a Jasmine return. These writers are bringing characters and plot points back from early in the show's run. So I think it's quite possible. I mean, Jasmine, to my knowledge, hasn't been killed off screen or something. So I do feel like it is possible for her to possibly come back at some point. Now, from there, you have Hudson, picking up Gary from the jail or the police station. And, they talk about their plan because, there's a lot of stuff going on. Andy talking to the feds. So they got to come up with a scheme to make sure that they leave no stone unturned when it comes to making Gary look innocent in all this. So Fatima woke up the next morning bright and early making breakfast for herself because she tells Zach, "Oh, I didn't make you anything. I didn't think you'd be up this early." She spent all night researching Karen's rare, and I mean rare, pregnancy condition, which I found very relatable here because what Fatima did in terms of pulling an all-nighter to become an expert in, this particular subject, I have to do the same thing all the time with these Tyler Perry shows, whether it be pregnancy, laws about child support, political things on the Oval, even back during haves and have-nots days. I would have to research certain things and be able to do videos on them. And, there are plenty of times I tell y'all in the video straight up, look, I know little to nothing about the child support system, or I know little or nothing in regards to, lawyer stuff, but I look things up if I can by like, okay, this state it's a Tyler Perry show. So in the state of Georgia, here's how child support works. But I thought that was pretty cool. And somebody during the live said it best, or I wasn't on Twitter. You know what's weird? You got Fatima who pulled this all-nighter, and here she is learning more about Karen's condition than even Karen, the woman herself who's pregnant, knows about. You would think she would spend more time trying to learn about this. And yeah, I can understand it being a lot for her to deal with after finding out about not only having twins, but having two baby daddies within the span of like 48 hours. But you would think she would want to know as much she could about the condition. So in any case, Zach is looking for an attorney in order to fight against Gary to get his money back. Spoiler alert, later in the episode, Fatima reveals that, hey, I talked with a lawyer about the situation, and based on the ironclad language used in the contracts, Gary's investment position is pretty strong. So basically, there's no way to try to fight him to get the money back, because when he signed on the dotted line, that means he has control of the funds. And Gary never said he wouldn't or couldn't give the money back. He just said that in that moment, my money and assets are tied up, so I wouldn't be able to give it to you now. It's going to take a bit of time. So there you go. But Zach, and this is the most divisive part of the episode, because Zach then goes on to say, I need to call Karen and talk about setting up trust for Michael, and then, baby girl, because remember, Zach is hoping that Karen's twin that's his is a girl. Honestly, I feel like he's going to be pissed off if Aaron gets the girl and he gets the boy, and no way Zach Jr. is going to happen. But this was and I'm not docking points for this because this was a very interesting topic of discussion, but I feel like everybody was coming down too hard on Zach, even though he had a pretty solid point. He is not responsible for both those kids, because Fatima said, you mean better make it 3? What do you mean 3 kids? I mean, it's Michael, then one baby. Zach, that baby comes as a set of twins. And it's like, no, it's not how that works. And I made this comparison because as the episode went on, I just got the feeling like this is probably what's going to happen. About a year or so ago, you had that one video that went viral on TikTok or whatever of this dude stopping by with some McDonald's. I think he had a McDonald's bag and a drink for his son. Basically, he went over to his baby mama's house, and the baby mama has multiple kids, but he only has one kid with her. So he stopped by and had the food for his kid. She took the drink, spilled it on the sidewalk, took the bag of food and threw it in the bushes, basically going off about, you don't come around here with McDonald's only for one kid. You better bring him for all my kids. And I'm like, no, that's freaked up on so many levels. Now, he is not obligated to take care of all those kids, because we don't know the dude's situation. Maybe he could only afford food for that one kid that he has. But regardless, it's like, yeah, some people look at it like, well, the other kids might feel bad because their dads didn't come around. Well, that's how it is. I mean, you could argue like, well, just take the kid out on his own and then enjoy the McDonald's and then drop him off. But no, regardless of how you want to look at the different scenarios, Zach is not financially obligated to take care of all those kids. He does not need to set up a third trust fund for Karen's other child that isn't his. I don't care how you try to spin it or what, that's how it is. I mean, that's how I feel about it. But in any case, they talk about, well, Fatima tries to like talk to him about, hey, well, you need to talk to Aaron about co-parenting and whatnot, and Zach doesn't want to have any of it. So Zach then calls Karen, and again, he just tries to reiterate, like, hey, what's mine is mine, what his is his. And then Karen talks about, well, my kids aren't going to be raised separately. Well, I mean, they're not, but it's an understanding that they don't have the same set of parents. So, yeah, again, I just did not like how this episode was framing Zach. Now, as the episode went on, I do agree with Fatima, like, look, everybody just found out the news about the twins, about the different baby daddies, the DNA. So you just kind of staking your claim off the rip isn't exactly going to fly, because you make it seem like, well, I'm not going to be bothered with the other kid, which does, and I could see how that might sound a bit harsh, but at the same time, later in the episode, Aaron saying things like, oh, if you're not going to step up, I will, and, you just going to, Zach didn't say that whatsoever. People just take his words. He's a very emotional guy. And it just seems like, people just hear him and then just think the worst, as opposed to having, what needs to happen, which I doubt is going to happen, but have a very mature, level-headed conversation with just the parties involved. Karen, Zach, and Aaron. Even though dude needs to get a DNA test, I don't care what you say, it ought to be done. That way they know for certain that, oh, these two are the baby daddies, and here's what needs to go down. No Fatima, because, that way Karen, because anytime Zach says something, oh, who is it? Is it Fatima? Or, oh, is it Danny telling you to say and do this? And then you got Zach, who needs to chill whenever Aaron is even mentioned in his presence. But then you have Aaron, who needs to calm down, like Zach rightfully calls out, bro, stop trying to be a knight in shining armor. Stop trying to put words in my mouth because you don't know the full story about things. There needs to be some kind of boundary set, and there needs to be some mature conversations. Because honestly, I feel like Zach and Aaron have both said and showed themselves to be pretty devoted to being providers for their respective children. But the problem is, there's just so much drama involved that, even though I don't think that if they had a mature conversation and whatnot, I don't think any sort of like court documentation needs to be signed, because they'll both do what's needed for their kid. But I just feel like, with everything going on, it probably is best to have it done that way. But yeah, it's just weird, because anytime Zach tries to say something, he's quickly dismissed. His words are twisted around, and then he's the bad guy all of a sudden. So from there, we got Andy and Fatima at work, and they're talking about the baby situation. And even though I don't believe Fatima mentioned Aaron, she does talk to Andy about how Zach is only the father of one baby, not both. And what's funny is that this scene goes on into the Gary drama about the FBI investigation and how Andy's wanted to be a witness. I sat here thinking to myself, which one of these two is supposed to be the seasoned attorney and which one is supposed to be the student? Because Fatima was schooling Andy about the feds and how, she shouldn't be too quick to trust them, because even though they might say, oh, we're not going to go into you, or, if you do this, this, and that, basically you give them what they want. So basically anything you say and do could be used against you and then screw you over, because Wyatt did make a point to say, you could help us out, or we look into you and your case, because even though you say you weren't directly involved with Gary's ill-gotten money and whatnot, you still had the condo and the car, basically all the things in your name. It leaves a paper trail and a stench on her. So yeah, it's really looking bad for Andy if things don't get cleared up. So from there, we go over to the bank, and I can't believe it. I actually like Maurice in this episode. Carrie is worse than Paige. Thanks for those who reminded me of Paige's name last week because I forgot it. So she's making all these snarky comments to Maurice about, being a jailbird and being a stain on the bank's reputation. And Miss Mabel, a customer who was worried about Maurice because of what she heard, she's over there laughing because of the snaps back and forth between Maurice and Carrie. And like, as someone with buck teeth, I caught secondhand shade when he called out Carrie about her teeth. And then it gets to the point where Carrie's trying to, cry out me too about Maurice putting hands on her, and he didn't. But she pretty much got fed some humble pie. And then Maurice goes into Sabrina's office to help with the needle for her egg and embryo thing. But then the conversation shifts over to the Carrie stuff. And then, now Sabrina wants to talk about Maurice. You need to make a good impression because people think the worst about you. And then it comes back to me about your reputation, about the bank robbery and everything. I'm like, Sabrina, you should have had this conversation before you gave Maurice the job back. That's all I'm going to say on that. And Sabrina looked fine as hell in this. All the women look fine. I mean, from the sweatshirt to the green dress to the red dress at the end, Fatima was just on fire this episode. But I got to give props to Sabrina as well. Andy too. And Danny looked good in her cozy home attire. It was a great episode. All right. So Karen is nagging Pam again about her merch. And as someone who works in social media, and I need to get merch my dang self, but merch is very important. Branding is important. And it just seems to me like, kind of like with Fatima schooling Andy, and I'm thinking like, which one of them is the student, which one is the seasoned attorney. I kind of felt the same way about Pam and Roots to Riches. Like, Karen, I mean, you can learn a thing or two from Pam because with the branding and everything, she's doing what she can to keep her name, in people's, vicinity. For like, it's like going to Disney with the hidden Mickeys. And I'm like, that's very clever. So then Aaron comes in, and Karen gets in her feelings because of the fact that Aaron invested into Roots to Riches without Karen knowing. And I'm just thinking like, it ain't none of your dang business. I mean, it's not like Pam is dating the man, and even if she did, it doesn't matter. How many times do you discard Aaron to the wind in favor of chasing Zach? And I mean, no. And then he does, when he starts rubbing on the belly and stuff, like, no. That's because she doesn't want to look stupid. I mean, Aaron's like, look, the quicker you reveal this, the better it's going to be. But it's like, I'll reveal in my time. The reason Karen doesn't want to run her mouth about the whole double baby daddy thing is because she'll look stupid considering she has been telling people for months, Zach's the baby daddy, Zach's the baby daddy. Now, all of a sudden, actually, Zach and Aaron, what are you going to do when it comes to like the baby shower and, being in public and like, let's say, the twins, where are they? I mean, I know one's here, but where's the other one? Oh, did Zach take him out for some father-son time? Actually, Aaron did. See, she doesn't want to look stupid. That's it. That's all it is. But yeah, she has no reason to be upset at Pam because she took an opportunity. And I'll leave it at that. So from there, Aaron learns about not all of it, but basically Karen talks to Aaron about how Zach was talking crazy about what's his and yours and yours. And then Aaron's like, I'm going to have a talk with him. No, don't do that. And somebody mentioned it during the live, and a very good point. Karen might be trying to turn these two guys against each other, and I could see something like that happening. Really, I could. So from there, we go over to Hudson, talking to a woman outside of, I believe, Gary's business. And it turns out she was a former intern. And Jordan runs up to her and grabs her by the arm, which I feel like was a big mistake on so many levels. But basically, he says his name was, Raymond or something. Basically going undercover, trying to learn stuff about Gary and about the shady stuff. So, yeah, I like the way he's pulling his own investigation here. But time flies by as we get to nighttime. Trey stops by the salon, and I think this is the first time we've seen him outside of his delivery boy attire. And he basically stops by to ask Karen out, but, she's like, look, I'm very pregnant, and I got a lot going on. Hey, that belly doesn't scare me, and that's what scares me about you. So, You're a nice dude, Trey. But she nicely turns him down. And he takes it in stride and makes it clear, like, well, hey, don't just think I come around here doing these nice things just to try to, talk to you and stuff. And it'll be cool when I still come by. And she likes him because he brings a good energy to the place and, is cool to Pam. So I just think, to me, like, if Trey asked out Pam, I think that Karen would once again get in her feelings, which makes no sense because, well, you kicked Aaron to the curb, you turned down Trey, and it's kind of like her being mad at Fatima about, oh, you get my sloppy seconds. Well, if Pam sees the opportunity or if Trey decides to pursue Pam, I could see it working out. I mean, I could see him definitely stopping by more. It seems to me that Trey comes by with more packages for Roots to Riches than Karen's salon. I forgot the name of it. Karen's Second Chance or something. I don't know. Basically, Karen's shop. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about that. Now, over at the basketball court, which I feel like was a very well-written scene because, like I said during my live stream, similar to Captain America Civil War, that Marvel film, you got Tony and Steve at odds about the Sokovia Accords and everything. And on both sides, they make strong arguments, but at the end of the day, they're both doing this they're both standing firm on their stances for selfish reasons in their own way, but they're both right and wrong at the same time. I felt the same about this debate. Now, to me, Zach was definitely in the right. Like, hey, I'm looking at the facts, and even if you don't like what I said, I'm only the father to one of those kids, not both. And then, like I said before, you know the crazy thing? Zach is very emotional, but at the same time, you got the super simp Aaron who's doing the same thing. It's just that you got Zach who gets worked up whenever Aaron's around, and then you got Aaron who, if he even senses some sort of disturbance to Karen, it's like, hey, I gotta go straight. I gotta, face straight on whatever obstacle is stressing her out. Like, you know what? Karen doesn't need this stress. And the thing is, and I mentioned this during the live, just like Miss Lisa, Aaron just swoops in, assuming that Karen is the victim. And, oh, if she's upset about one little thing, I need to go to the source and nip it in the bud, without realizing that Karen causes way more stress for everyone around her than, they cause for her. But that's just me. And Zach was right to call him out. It's like, look, she doesn't need to be saved. And, you just come around here. She's not with you. She ain't your woman. And the thing is, the way Zach says it, it's almost like, so are you in your feelings if Aaron and Karen do get together, despite the fact that you have Fatima? Even though I know these two didn't start off on the right foot, especially with Aaron kissing Karen, even though her and Zach were technically still together at the time, and Zach saw it happen. I feel like at the end of the day, these two will start getting along because they had the moment where Zach rightfully called out. So what about your kids, huh? What about your kids? I mean, you're so determined to take care of a kid that isn't even your own here, but what about your kids with your ex-wife? And then he reveals, the grandma took them and basically made it so they don't want to have anything to do with me. But the way I remember it, and somebody did remind me last night, didn't Aaron sign off on everything, agreeing to give custody and the house and everything over to his dead ex-wife's, mom, as opposed to even trying to fight for the kids? But I also kind of remember those kids not being his biological children. I think so. It's really touchy territory there, but it does seem weird, kind of like with Trey not being bothered by the baby bump that Karen has. You got Aaron more than willing to try to take care of some kids. And I did like that they both say, look, we both want to be good dads because Aaron wants a second chance as his other kids were taken away. And Zach wants to be the father that he didn't have when he was growing up. But I think everybody wants the same thing, but they don't have the best way of communicating. That's what it is. Because there's always someone who twists the other person's words, someone who always allows their emotions to get the better of them, and it causes a lot of friction when at the end of the day, I think these kids are going to be the ones who suffer from this. That's what I think. But hopefully they do work things out in the end. And it was a funny moment. Jesus loves you, Zach. Ah! Zach was running and screaming like he got some demons in him. So we go over to Danny and Sabrina. This was a cute scene, playing charades. But Danny, I mean, why would you tell Sabrina about the baby daddy stuff and then, like, you don't tell nobody, knowing that this woman cannot hold water? It makes no sense to me why she would blab about this. Because in the promo for next week, when Karen is asking Sabrina and Pam to put together a baby shower, she then goes over to Danny saying, like, something's really wrong with our friendship. Meaning that she probably only went to Danny's because she knows about the fact that Danny ran her mouth about the drama about her two baby daddies, even though she told her not to tell anybody. So Danny did this to herself, and I don't feel bad for anything that happens at this point. But most people don't care because, man, Danny, go ahead and run your mouth. We don't care. We don't like Karen. But yeah, Sabrina was looking really good. Tony leaves, and I did not like this scene. Now, he stood on business as a father, making a good point. You know, what if my daughter took this to school and wanted to, play a game with another boy or something? Here's the thing. Tony sprung this whole watch my kids on Danny at the last minute. She had no time to prepare. And like she said, I got back from work. Well, technically, she went to work, then went to Karen's, and then went home. But yeah, Tony was way out of pocket, and Danny had every right to throw his ass to the curb after that, because even though the handcuffs and whatnot were hers, Tony needs to raise his badass kids. Because I'm thinking, like, you know, being black myself and whatnot, as a kid, you were told, like, when you go over to someone's house, you keep your hands to your own damn self. You don't be touching anything. You don't be taking anything that doesn't belong to you. And then Rihanna was the one who was snooping around everything. And it goes back to the first time Danny had alone time with them in that juice shop, and they tried to shake her down for, like, her necklace and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a result of Tony and the ex-wife not doing a good job raising the kids. I mean, what is she, 10, 11 years old? She should definitely know better than to just, you know, go around opening up stuff and taking things that don't belong to her. So, Tony, that's on you and your flimsy ass parenting, not on Danny. And I'm leaving it like that. So, to wrap things up, I already talked about part of the situation where Zach gets back from basketball. Fatima looking fine as hell, dancing and cooking for her man. And man, so they sat down and, you know, he talked about the Aaron situation, and Fatima, you know, lived it up being right, even though I think that Zach wasn't wrong. We talked about the Gary thing, and, you know, Zach kind of mentions, well, I would hate for you to call your cousin about Gary, wink, wink, because earlier in the season, Fatima said, let me call my cousin. Wait, no, I got to get my money back first. But now that Zach knows his money's tied up, the best way to get Gary is to kick it off him. So the episode ends with Jordan sitting alone in the car. I think Andy gave him a call saying, don't do anything stupid. And then Gary just rolls up in the back seat. First of all, always keep your doors locked. Seriously. I mean, that's the thing. Like, don't, especially if you're parked somewhere at night. I mean, heck, even, it doesn't matter what store, even if it's the little general store up the street. Like yesterday morning, my nephew and I went into town with like Walmart and stuff like that. I don't care if there's nobody in the parking lot. I'm locking my door. Anytime I exit the vehicle, I lock the door. When I get in the vehicle, crank up, I lock the door. So people just leaving their door unlocked and then someone just jumping in and they're shocked. I'm like, why? Especially in Atlanta of all places. But yeah, that was the episode in a nutshell. Who can I run to? I thought it was great. This is kind of back to season 7A levels of quality. I don't know what the heck happened last week, but overall, pretty solid stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.